This is EXCELlent DM. Hello. Alright. Coffee is on, and it's time to get to work. Right. Just gotta get rid of all this anime pornography on my screen. Okay. Here we are. EXCELlent DM. Bingo. Right. Well, I have been working on this without being on stream, which I don't feel guilty about, and I won't apologize for. But just have a look at the various things that I have done. Right. So let's see what you can see. Let's get rid of this bloody. Let's get rid of. Oh, oh, oh. Don't need the logo just now. Okay. Right. This is what I do for fun, believe it or not. So I've made a shift in my mechanics from what I would call a system based on HP and mana, which is to do with accounting, budgeting, HP and mana as quantities, right? Where you have 100, say, mana going into a situation, your spells cost various amounts of mana like products in a marketplace, and you spend, right? Those metaphors of spend, mana, consume potions, all those metaphors. And I'm shifting instead to a system which gets rid of HP and mana because they are derivative of these scores here, strength through luck that I have here. Because for me, HP was always just 3 times your constitution score, and mana was 3 times. I mean, if you were a fighter, 3 times your strength. If you're a wizard, 3 times your intelligence, that kind of thing. So I've moved away from that, and I'm now in a system which just deals directly with the scores. And that, of course, creates its own constraints. But one of the things that I have been working on is this spell system, which I'm quite excited about. So if we look here to Wrath of St. Hildegarde, creates a 20 feet circle of divine mana. Let's just zoom in a little bit more. Creates a 20-foot circle of divine mana that deals damage to all targets, is thrown like a grenade up to 60 feet away, and goes off instantly or after 1d4 rounds. Okay, so what have we got in that description? We've got the radius of energy. We've got how it's cast, its range, and we have a choice of either having it go off instantly or a bit of wild magic, right? And as a general theme, this movement towards away from a counting-based mana opens up the potential for a lot more wild magic. Or so it goes off after 1d4 rounds. So this is like a holy grenade. And what it has here is it has a mini table, wisdom, success, and fail. And you have 17. What is 17? That is this character's actual wisdom score out of a total of 18 or 19. And then we have half and a third. And that's important because a lot of this system now relies on a core mechanic of whole, half, and third. And in different ways, which I'll come on to here when we talk about melee damage. But as it pertains here to this spell, which does damage, you have a wisdom check is called for in order to cast it successfully. When I mean wisdom check, I don't mean like in 5th edition when you have this bogus DC system, which is completely ridiculous, in which the Dungeon Master apparently makes up a number which you have to roll higher than, but really they're just waiting to see what the dice roll is and then make their judgment based on whether they want it to happen or not. This is not legalistic. This is a completely charismatic pageantry. So what I do instead is I have people try to roll under their scores, because this creates a dynamic in which the higher your score is, the easier it is for you to pass those checks. So on a d20, a wisdom of 17, it's very easy to make a wisdom check because you have to get between 2 and 17. I still have 1 is always a fumble and 20 is always a critical because, those are entrenched parts of role-playing culture, and I don't really want to be a complete Maoist. yet. But, and then the principle then is you have different versions of this spell, but you have to roll under different numbers. So if you want to cast a soft version of this spell, the base version, then you just try and get under your wisdom score. If you want to increase the power of that spell, you roll at a half or a third, increasing the damage it deals every time. And the higher your wisdom is, the higher the half and the third are relative to your score. And so the more powerful wisdom-based spellcaster you are, in other words, a cleric, then the more you're going to be able to pull off those higher spells, minimizing the risk involved. And there's always risk here. So the other two columns in this table, success and fail, basically dictate what happens if you succeed or fail on the casting. So success here is deal 1d6 -1 -2 damage to any 3 scores, gain 1 fatigue. So what that means is, if I was casting Wrath of St. Hildiga and I cast it and it passes, anybody within that 20-foot circle of divine mana when it goes off is going to lose damage from 3 scores that I define. So I would say I'm casting Wrath of St. Hildiga, rolling under a 17, and I'm targeting Constitution, Psyche, and Intelligence. And you order them. What that means is the 1d6 you roll affects Constitution. So say I roll a 6, right, on that 1d6. The Constitution decreases by 6. -1 -2, what does that mean? Well, it means that the Psyche, which I chose second, is reduced by 5. And the Intelligence is reduced by 4. And this is a mechanic that I had to introduce because I realized that, well, if I'm collapsing HP into Constitution, and if your Constitution gets to 0, somebody is out of the fight, maybe dead, then why would you deal damage against any other score? Why wouldn't you just focus it on Constitution? So now, whenever damage is dealt, it does it to 3 scores. And depending on the kind of damage you're dealing, you have more or less choice about what kind of damage you deal. Because this is magic, you have more flexibility over the kind of damage that you're dealing. And I will come on to show how that's different when we talk about melee weapons. So when it comes to the failure column, if you fail your roll, that then has a negative effect on you. It says here, lose 1d4 wisdom points or 1d4 psi points. So what you would do is roll a d4 and you would choose whether to take it from wisdom or psi. And you know that ahead of time. So you're taking on that risk. But very likely you're going to succeed, right? So you're going to take that risk. Now, the reason why people lose scores comes back to a reason why I went away from that version of HP and mana in the first place, which was because a lot of the game mechanics were directed towards HP and mana, and because XP in my system was about increasing your scores strength through luck. There was never actually a way in which scores permanently decrease, really, because people only ever lose mana or health as a result of their actions or enemies' actions. And so what it led to was this score inflation and a notion of progress, which is inherent in 5th edition and other systems where you want to get to max level. But when you get to max level and you have this sort of party where new players are always coming in, then you end up with some players who are very powerful and others who are very weak, and it's difficult to balance, right, the game that way. But another thing about that inflation when it comes to is that, yeah, you just end up with people whose scores are maxed out, and so the question of risk and fun, you know, when you're gambling, right, and you're playing roulette or something, and you roll a dice on something which you think is a risky bet, but it pulls off. You manage to pull it off. That's a good feeling, and that's fun, right? And so I wanted to capture that in this system, and that doesn't work when scores only go up. So I thought, why don't I find a way in which you could hard code in the fluctuation of scores? So in essence, the definition of a successful character is in the player's ability to balance risk. So that, yes, they may lose points from failing on certain things or taking damage, but at the end of every encounter, I reward them with 1d8 experience points, for example. And let's say you roll that 1d8 and get 8, right? Then you get to distribute those 8 points however you like between your 10 scores, up to a maximum of 19 in each. And so you have this situation where that fluctuation becomes a terrain, high stakes, and exciting. Because you could try and, for example, if you're casting Wrath of St. Hildegard and you say, I'm going to try and supercharge it and do this 5 version here, and then you fuck it up and you have to lose 1d8 wisdom, that's gonna affect things in a big way, right? But because it's visible in this table, and the player takes on that risk themselves, it's fun. So the other part of this then is melee weapons. So the Metallicum longsword is an example of a very good weapon, but I've actually changed the formula so that there's less, as far as damage goes, there's less of a range of difference when it comes to how much damage a Metallicum longsword does, say, over a copper one. Because I've put those differences between materials as being important in the weight and condition categories. Instead, the majority of damage dealt by weapons derives from the attack mod, which is a combination of a character's strength and dexterity modifiers. So the more physical power you can put into a melee attack is what the majority of the damage is determined by. So you attack someone with a sword, and you see here you have a more strict strength, then dexterity, then constitution relationship. Here, d8 plus 2. So what does that mean? So basically, first you roll versus AC with a d20. And you add your attack modifier. Then you roll damage, and that is done by your attack modifier, d8 plus 2. So in this situation, very strong, but not very dexterous. Well, because they're wearing plate mail armor. The damage that they deal is 4 d8 plus 2. So 4, so that'd be 8, 16, 36 plus 2. So 38 maximum damage. But that 38 maximum damage is then so that 38 maximum damage possible with the Metallicum longsword. Yep. So that's whole, half, third again. Right? So 38 damage to strength, cripples someone. And then let's say that's 19 damage to dexterity, also cripples. And then a third of 38, so it's about 11. Doesn't quite kill them though, you see? So this attack would completely ruin this person's ability to, I'm using the attacker's stats as an example. And then what's interesting is, so that's them going in full strength, right? So their first couple of attacks in a round, slash, 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 kill, kill, kill. But then once they start to take score damage, right? Let's say they take 8 strength damage, right? look, their strength modifier decreases to 0. Their attack modifier becomes 1, right? So they're not going to be doing that amount of damage through the whole combat. It's going to be decreasing, right, as time goes on. So all of these fulcrums and levers, and but trying to keep it simple for the player. And this is where I'm able to accomplish this only because I use Google Sheets, because the complexity can be hidden from the player. And the processes that they use, yes, they're abstract, but the complexity is hidden. They don't have to, for example, keep track of what their attack mod becomes when this number goes down, because it's all coded into the system there. And the net result is the player, right, can just sit here with these datas, and they can change their spells here. And the idea is, you know, once I translate them all into the system, probably as we play, these are going to pop up. And, you know, if this, for example, was a psyche-based spell, right, the score changes, the stakes, the risk changes. And then you have these two things here, metallic and longsword. You know, this again, like before, is based in containers. So right now it's holding or wearing. But if we go to backpack, in other words, if the player looks in the backpack, then new things come up, right? And so this sort of captures, I think, you know, you can't telepathically know without taking your rucksack off your back and opening it up what's really in there. You can remember, but it would be, you can't do it in the middle of battle, and neither should you be able to do it through the spreadsheet. So it's only based on the container selection that these are still relevant and should come up. I've also added these cool hyperlinks. Let's see if this one works. Aha, look at this. So this is my Dungeon Master screen for all spells. And you can see here the many blanks remaining. But basically I centralize the spell system here so that I can quickly give or take away skills and abilities and pool them together, right? So I'm building up a bank. Now, I'm supposed to be playing a session on Monday, and so I want to be able to give out new character sheets that make sense within this system. So I need to populate new character sheets, but also just make sure that I also want to return to see if this is all fine. So where we left off last time, I was struggling with the particulars of this. Oh, my coffee. So I'm just gonna put on some. I'm gonna put on some classical music actually, since I heard that it's all public domain. Okay. Gonna turn me up and this down. Maybe not. Maybe not. Right, just get that coffee on the go. coffee, bit of cream, as the Americans say. Okay. Right, so what is this? This is the thing that I use to maintain the procedural integrity of encounters. And that's so basically what we got now is if I hit burn, it's going to do random initiative for all of these guys here, apart from the ones who have a link here. In other words, then it will go and get the initiatives from from this little doohickey here. So when I hit turn, it translates these into just values and then it orders them from highest to lowest. That can take a moment. Here we go. And there you have our spread for the encounter. Now, you see here these numbers. These are actually the place where I store the actual numbers of the characters, the PCs. This, for example, Monster Hobgrungle, is currently a formula. Right? So what I want is I want an easy way, because I'm going to have to then, based on the type, right, be reducing and increasing these scores. I'm going to have to be reducing and increasing these scores based on based on what? Well, let me get my code plan up and we will just get into the bloody weeds here, eh? This is, you know, there's other things I could be doing today to make my next week a lot easier. But, you know what? Nah. I don't really get a lot of time to work on this, and I would like to work on it more. So copy this guy into our blackboard. Bring over here. Here we go. And we're gonna just fade it out a little bit. Okay, so blah blah blah. Where's, oh, because I'm in full screen. There we go. I'm gonna want it to be a little bit brighter. Yes, and another layer as well. There we go. Okay, pen, coffee, full screen. Let's just work this out. So oh, you're joking. Gotta configure this pen real quick. we go. So where am I? I'm here. Okay, I wish I could see that more. Okay, so this is our, the people in the encounter. So, but there's sort of 3 categories, right? There's players, PCs. There's NPCs, who are unique individuals, members of society, and then there are NPC types, so monsters or extras, right? And I've actually, you can see there's 2 examples here, and they're actually color coded differently. So the monster comes up red, and then down here we have NPC, right? So there's a code. So let's move on to the important part. Basically, instead of HP and mana, all damage is rendered through these scores here, right? So these are the scores. And for the green ones, which are actual players, these numbers are values. So in here is just the number 15, 13, 10, because the character sheet is always checking that it's showing these numbers here. So when we go to here, these numbers here, right, come from the switchboard, and these numbers, like I did last time, these come from here. So to go back to our annotation, right, these are numbers, these are values. The amber and the red ones, however, are not values. These are formulas. Specifically, these are an index match, right? So index, I'll just put X, match Y based off Z, match times 0, close match, close index. So when I use this drop down, right, and what this does is it basically brings all NPCs, monsters, and extras from array X, right? Which, not to make it too confusing, that's just another spreadsheet where I keep a list of, I'll show you that. So down here, I call it society. Oh. So Sally, right? You got this whole thing. And in society, which is X, you have basically all of the data generated, all these scores. And sometimes you have unique NPCs, sometimes you have sort of like just your fucking Whiterun guard, you know? Never see his face. Never see his face. So my current thing today, which I want to come away at 5:30 having solved, so you get 2.5 hours, is I want a button, right? We're gonna have a button up here, which will be like, we'll say like lock-in or something, right? And what it's gonna do is it's gonna convert formulas into values, and then we're gonna have another button reset or something, which is on a conditional. So if, and that is if basically not PC, then the true part, if it's not a PC, we want to put in formula. And if it isn't, then we want to leave it alone. We just want to keep the value that's in there. And then what that means is that for the members of the encounter, right, who are not players, because these are very important numbers, I don't want to fuck these up or lose them. What it means is that for these ones, I can fill very quickly new monsters and stuff into the encounter. I can get through the formula their starting scores, and then by hitting this button, turn those formulas into values, which I can then manipulate. And what I mean by that is, as the encounter goes on, say this Hobgrungle here takes 7 strength damage, I can just change that number to 7, and I'm not going to lose the formula, because if I hit reset, it's going to then put that formula back in. But it's only going to do that for the values that I want it to. And the way to tell if I want those values to go in is because this box here is going to be blank. Or in other words, it's going to equals blank. So how am I going to do that? Well, I've got some things already in JavaScript that fulfill this. The new part is figuring out, basically what I'm going to want it to do is, go down a wee bit. We're going to want a loop that goes through each row, and it's going to ask, let's say this column is L, right? Is L empty? Right? If yes, then put in formula. If no, then leave it alone. Next. Start the next row. So the lock button is simply going to change. We don't have to have a clarification, but we could also do it as a loop just to be neat and tidy. And what that's going to do is it's going to change all of these into values. All of these into values. And then the reset button is going to have this conditional loop as well. Okay? Good. Okay, so let's get to work. So bring up I'm gonna need to bring up this, and we're going to start with the buttons. I don't really like the drawing tool in this because you can't copy and paste. You always have to make a new fucking button from scratch, which is irritating. But let's go for gold. Let's get our medieval sharp, bold, type. And let's call this one, let's do the reset first, because we're going to have to make the loop. Definitely for this one. Right. So, we got our button, and we're gonna just make that smaller, put it here. And we're going to make another button right away. And we're going to call this one, we'll just call it value, or lock. Yeah, lock in. Why not? Good old lock in. There we go. Maybe make this green a little bit lighter. Done. Alright, so we got our buttons. And now we just have to make them work. Okay. So we're going to open up our script editor. Bring up the code. So here we have our function for initiative. And actually that does something quite similar, because for a specific range, we can see here. Let's get this. Let's get this over here. Let's go over here now. Right, we've got our range, and get rid of that. Add another layer. There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. So the initiative system already does kind of what we want it to. We're doing here. We're changing formulas into values, values into formulas. And so when it burns, so the way that I accomplish that is I say, okay, so for the column, for this column C, right, which is, this is column C, right, we have an if function, basically, that is put right into the cell. So the conditional is inherent in the code, right, it's right there. The if function is inherent in the code, is inherent in the formula, right, you put in. But the difference about today is that because we're using a loop, that if function is going to be in the JavaScript itself. And then we're going to put in our code, which I've already written because it already works for, sorry, the formula, put in our formula. But all of this stuff's basically going to be the same. This is going to be the same. That's going to be the same, but we're just going to have a different range. It's going to be probably D to whatever this is. 3 to 100. And then, yeah, I have to reset formula. Yep. But this is going to be nested within our loop. So where I have a loop somewhere else, which would be easier to just take. And then here, this is our thing that we're going to use to effectively make things values, except instead of C, it's going to be like D to J or whatever. Because the values are already going to be values. But if we want to be neat and tidy, we would put that in a loop as well, just to leave the valuable data, the stuff coming from the player characters, out of it. Just Didn't he touch it? Didn't he touch it? Don't want to be manipulating that. So, and then all this does here, this is how I organize it from highest to lowest, right? So that's what we got there. So to go back to the code, let's just see if there's a loop. Yes, we have a loop here. So we're going to take that as our starting point up here. And we're going to call this one, reset counter scores. So sheet 1 is going to be encounter. And, well, you know, it might be the case that so one thing that I can see being a problem here is when it comes to unique NPCs, right? After an encounter, all of these numbers are going to be different, right? People may have gained, right, because of spells. They may have lost because of damage, whatever. And we don't want to just scrub these every time an encounter finishes. We want actually to take these values and save new values, right? And that's going to be very difficult. Well, not really, but it's going to take some finessing. But we're going to do that at the end. So the first thing I want to do here is, okay, 2 sheets encounter, and the other one's probably going to be society because of that thing at the end. And let's just check and see if that actually is the name of the sheets, encounter and society. Good. Okay, so the helper. Might need a helper, but not just now. Ah, yeah, because no, well, because so what we got is this loop. If helper equals new, so that's for saving NPCs, then direction equals spreadsheet and direction, last row equals L14 get value, else last row equals helper, which will be the save row, and then is that really a useful loop? Ah, no, because look, we got all this now. I don't even think that that's a loop. Let's type it out in plain English first. Okay, that's usually how I get started. So we're gonna want to basically say this is reset encounter scores. So we're gonna want it to say, right, if column n is empty, change values for the formula, and that formula is and we're gonna have to finesse it a wee bit and change everything to 3. Because that's the first range. So we're gonna have to define that. So for range, and it's gonna be P3 to M 100. For range D for 100, and we're going to say loop whatever, and then if column n is empty, change values as otherwise go to the next row, right? So what I'm interested in is, okay, so here's our if. So helper, right? Let's have a look. Yeah, I've definitely made a loop before, but where did I make it? I know where I made it. I know where I made it. In the metagame. The home of only the most experimental aspects of my DMing. In the metagame. Script. Here we go. So actually we want something like this. Over here. Get rid of this shit. Function is going to be encounter. And sheet 1 is going to be encounter. Society is going to be society. Stockpile. These are variables that we need to think about down here. So if current month, that's a particular range, equals set values else. 4, right, okay, so we don't want this part yet. We want to start with our 4. So 4 let I equals 12. So this is the row number. So, and that's the limit, right? I plus plus. For I equals 12, if I is smaller than the last row, plus 1. I smaller than the last row, plus 1. I plus plus. Right, so let's just be arbitrary about it. I've got 17 here. So that should just be a 17. Last row is, looks like, yeah, so look, this is where we're going to put in, so instead of stockpile, right, we're going to put in n plus I, and that's going to be link to sheet, right? And scores are going to be get range D through M. So D and the row to M plus I, which is the row. the 0 there. I think that's correct. I think that is correct. What is all this nonsense? Don't people know I'm trying to EXCELlent DM here? Right. Okay, so right, let's look. Let scores equal. So we've got our range here, and this should contain the columns all the way here on the row in question with the loop. And then link to sheet is whether or not the loop actually goes ahead, and that's an n. And we want it to find out if it's empty or not. Let x equals sheet 1. Like conditional equals sheet 1 dot get range ab plus I dot get value. AG plus I. So what? So now we have to just continue down here. So down here we've got if conditional equals 1, which is to mean interesting. Right, stop publish. So this is to set the value of in the cell. This is what happens if a conditional equals 1. The conditional for us is actually linked to sheet. So let's have a look at the metagame, right? In production. How are we going to reconcile this conditional with, oh, this is in the, over here. How are we going to reconcile this conditional with this is now our conditional? If conditional basically what we want is if link to sheet is equals blank, right? Then we want the scores, right, to contain a formula. Right, so then we're going to put here, then we would like the scores to contain a formula, right? Else we would like the scores to be left alone. So we get rid of this. Okay, and then else if conditional equal else if. Else, we just want else. Get rid of that. If link to sheet equals blank, we would like the scores to contain a formula. Else, we would like the scores to be left alone. If sheet 1, blah, 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 we don't need that. Right, so we don't need this conditional anymore. Nor do we need this X. All we need is the scores to manipulate and the link to sheet, which is a conditional. We don't want that either. Okay, so what we got up here? This if we can get rid of, because the whole the thing is nested in this for. Let I equal 0. If I is less than 17, plus 1. Don't want that. I is less than 17, I plus plus. Let scores equal sheet 1 dot get range. Defaults I that get value. We don't want value. We want to make that the active range, right? Down here. So we don't want start pile, last row, or current line. No, we want to make that the active. So here, right? What we want to do is active range, somewhere down here. Yeah, activate, and then we want this. So up here, that goes, if that's blank, then we want to activate sheet.getRange, sheet1.getRange, and then that range we're going to get is this, like that. Set formula. Okay, so the active range we have here. Oh, it's people. There's people here. I'll just respond in the chat. This is JavaScript. This is JavaScript. In Google Sheets. So if link to sheet is blank, then we're going to want to activate our range in the row and then set a formula, which I have up here. Else, nothing. Else, nothing. And there's for loop, right? It's gonna go between here and here. And this is for the whole thing. Otherwise, go to the next row. If column change values for the front. Yeah. So have we accomplished this? For range D3 to M100 loop. Let I equal 0, I less than 17, and how does it know where to start? So let link to sheet equals m plus 2 dot get value. Yeah, sheet 1 range n2. We don't need that. Oh, I see. It's this if within our loop here. If link to sheet equals blank. Sheet 1 dot get range, blah 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 blah. So it's gonna start at 0, but we don't want it to start at 0. We want it to start at from the wonderful brackets. We wanted to start at 3. So what we're doing is I'm making it's an application for a dungeon master or a game master encounter screen. So we're starting at row 3. We're going to do 17 for this test, and we wanted to start then at 3. So let I equals 3. If I is less than 17, which is where the test ends, then I plus 1. And then let link to sheet equals blah, 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 and then do the if to see if it's blank. If it is blank, activate it, put this formula in, else nothing, redo the loop. So time to test. So let's just So next thing I'm going to do is get the button in, reset encounter here, edit. No, don't want to edit. We want to assign a script, reset encounter. And now we can see if it's going to work. I mean, it's saved. Reset. So what we expect to happen is, so actually I'm going to turn all these into values now, so these are all just numbers, and we want to see if the formula goes into the right ones. Well, my favorite output, yes and no. Because it has right, so it's put exactly the same formula into every one of them, which is not what we wanted. So let's just go back. Okay, so back into the code. So is there any way here, can I do this and put in our I like that? And then here again, we need to put in plus I. Let's see if that works. Save. And now we're going to hit reset. What's this? What is that? Okay. So I know what the problem is. That's good, that works. We get numbers. Could you assign each color to a number, then have it execute if the cell has that color? I'm sure it's possible, but because the only ones I want to change are the ones that are blank in column N, I have enough of, I have a simpler way to basically for it to work that out. The question I have now, does Deeks play, is actually, so the formula I'm putting into this array, I need to have a variable column, because in society, the numbers that it's actually the index matching is V, W, X, Y, Z, AA, AA, AC, right? So, back here in encounter, this formula here, V, basically is the same all the way through. So I wonder if we can actually just solve that by taking away this. right? We save that there, and then we hit reset again. Baba Booey! Okay, cool. So that's our reset button. And basically, what that does is, well, we've done it in the wrong way round, right? But what that does now mean is that, so the NPCs that I have in the other screen, other sheet. So if I go to, if I want Dora Valos instead, right? It's going to bring up different things here. If I bring up Alistair Lewitt, it's going to bring up different things here again. And that's fine until we start actually having combats. Because once we have combat, I don't need this to be a formula. I need this to be a value, just like the player characters ones are, so that I can change those if they take strength damage, if they take dexterity damage, etc. So now the lock-in function, which should be easier because I'm going to use exactly the same loop. All I'm going to do is just have it do something different. Here, I'm just going to have it paste it as just like here in I've got burn and turn. So here, that, here, we're going to take that up here. We're going to put this down here. And we're going to take the range we're going to basically take that and there, get rid of this, update all the places it says sheet, and now this loop, which we're going to call lock in, is going to do the opposite. So blah 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 blah. Save that. Go over here. So now we've got, in each of these we've got a formula. But when the combat begins and these are going to start changing, I hit lock in. Oh, sign script. Lock in. We're going to hit lock in. Notice it avoids the very valuable data, which is the player scores, and now they're all numbers. And when I hit reset, and we know because it's exactly the same. How does this program handle forms? I don't know. Can you elaborate a little bit? Deeks play? Does Deeks play? Is forms a programming term or a D&D term? So now I've got that, but the other thing I need it to do is when I hit reset, say Sally Jenkins has gained 14 intelligence from this encounter, right? I need it then to update in society, the society page down here, under Sally Jenkins, that number. Which means I'm going to need a way to distinguish between, I'm going to need a way to distinguish between these sorts of things. 1 second. So the next thing to do. Stream is cutting out for me, but I also got to go. See you, Matthew. Okay, see you later. The next thing we need to do is, yes, save these values again. So, and also, I see here the armor class. We're gonna have to move where the armor class is, which has a whole kettle of fish. Let's see. So ignoring the armor class thing, the next thing we need to look at is how we're going to save the NPCs, and in order to do that, we can find that loop again, save NPC loop, and okay. I guess I could just edit these scores in here. But I don't want that to be the case. I want to just be able to hit a button when we reset, and basically for those to save. Ow. So I can't just reset the values to the formula, because then that would just reset the values for these unique NPCs. So I need a way to manage that, and I am not sure how to do that. Let's have a look at society. So the armor class thing might not be so hard to... Well, where is armor class actually kept? Is it a value I keep? No, I don't actually. So where's these high numbers coming from? Here. No. This one. This is, we hit reset. AE. Don't need metagame anymore. Don't need that. Hit point max is gonna, so I'm gonna have to fix that in another stream. The way in which NPCs are made and saved. But that's okay. What I need to do now is think about a way to, well, this way I can load NPCs and run encounters. I just can't automatically save unique NPCs altered scores back into their files, into their rows. So I load up the NPCs. I hit lock in, I can do the thing. When I hit reset, the first thing I wanted to do is save the values. So what function do I have to save the values? Here I have those base values, right? I'm gonna need a helper cell, which I'm not happy about. Oh, well actually, I could put it here. So what I could do is, if n3 equals blank, then put a match the name with the name here. And then when I drag this down, okay, we now have our rows to save these to. So now we have the rows in our loop. We can refer to O. So if length sheet equals blank, no, we want here reset and counter. If it is blank, then using O, copy and paste values to society D to M. So what we can do is we can say, well, what do we do in the other loop down here? Yeah, jump down. No, we want this up here. So, yeah, getting rid of that. Sheet 1, sheet 2. Yes, so now up here where I've got that, we can now put in society. Or no. No. Sheet 1. Huh. So B plus last row. Yeah, so that's going to be V plus last row. And then what we're going to do is take D plus I to M plus I. And copy to the active range, which is activated, right? Society. Get active range, blah, blah, blah. Paste values. Okay, so 4:10 now. So we bring the stream to an end once this works. So how are we going to test this? Well, basically, we're going to put in test here with, so we're going to put that in here, and we're going to change these stats to 99 all the way across. And then we're going to hit reset and see what happens. So let's just go over the code again. Reset encounter for I to 17, or we could go, yeah, basically up here even we can have like count A 3 to A. And well, just gonna delete that then. A3 to A, and that helper cell O1, right, we're going to call that helper. Oh no, we're not. We're going to call that helper. Put this here and put O1. Get value. Using O, copy and paste. So using that O, right, that's now going to be our helper. And we're going to go from 3 to helper, which is the number of rows. It should be anyway. Yeah, 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So yeah, so from 3 to 15, let link to sheet equals. So take the end, see if it's, and then get rid of. If we're concerned with these, then the first thing we want to do is okay, so the other thing we need to do is put in a variable called save row, which is in O, right? OI, it would be O plus I. So we're going to have that there. And then because of that, we're going to actually call it let save row equals O plus I, which is determined by now. And then we're going to have this v plus last row. No, v plus I once again. No, it's helper, right? Activate that. And then what we're going to do is we actually want v2 AD, v2 AD, or AE, v2 AE. Right, v2 AE. V plus helper plus AE plus helper. Activate. Bring our scores and copy them to active range, and then on sheet 1 activate those again and then put in the formula. But we don't want that to happen if right, so we can use number here, right? So this is a copy, right? So if b equals blank, so if b equals blank, then we don't want to update the things because there's only one Sally Jenkins, you know. But if there's a number here, we can simply be a clone, and then that way we don't want to override it. So what I'm going to do here with this Praetorian guy then is I'm going to put 99 as well, and then when we reset, Sally should be 99, Praetorian shouldn't be. So we're going to put in is clone equals take that, put that down here. B plus I is clone equals B plus I. And then so then we're gonna have to put in an if here, and the if is gonna be if is clone is blank, then do that, and then we can close that off, and then for all of them we want to put that. Okay, so just to reiterate, so if we bring up this in another tab, and then if over here in society we just want to have clear this, we just want Sunshine Sally Jenkins, and we just want NPC Praetorian. Okay. So basically, if we, for the test, for the sake of this test, let's hide all of this stuff. Right? And then, so because Sally Jenkins is 0, there's nothing here, blank, this should update the numbers, and because NPC Praetorian is a clone, it should not, right? So let's give it a try. Reset. Didn't work. Didn't work. So let's now try making it 3. Right, let's now try making it. So we're going to insert another button. And this is going to be save or update. Let me update. Should be all caps though. Right, and then we're going to have to go in and parse this out. So function reset and counter, right, is now going to be up here, and we're going to call that this update. PCs counter. And we're going to keep everything the same, but we're going to just get rid of that part. And we're going to go down here and keep everything the same, but we don't need this part. Basically all the stuff we added. We don't need this anymore. Okay, so now if we put this into our button, right? And now if we go to Sally Jenkins, so we're going to just put asterisk, right? Asterisk here, asterisk here, and then we're going to hit update. Right? Why has that happened now? So it definitely did stuff. So that's 9, 7, 8, 10. 8, 10, 17, 9, 7, 8, 10. These are not the numbers that I expected. 9, 10, 15, 6, 9. 9, 10, 15, 6, 9. If I hit reset, is that 55? 55, 68, 9, 7, 8, 10, 8, 18, 12, 10. 9, 7, 8, 10, 8, 18, 12, 10. 9, 7, 8, 10, 8, 18, 12, 10, yep. So I change that to a 10. Lock these in. And then update. It was a 10. And then I went back to a 9. Why? Yeah, so it should just copy and paste what's there. And it shouldn't even, like, if I hit update, it was a 10! So why is it? So why is it done that? Could it be that, hold on, if we just select all again, no, no 99s either. Don't know. This, no, this is not the helper. The V to AE we should be activating is save row. Oh. Try this. Hey! Alright, it worked. Now let's try turning it back. For this Praetorian, let's go for 99 and update. That's back, and for the NPC Praetorian, it has not. Alright, so basically now let's review. So we go back here and we bring up this stuff. Here. Okay. So right, so we now have 3 buttons: lock, reset, lock in, reset, and update. And what this does is it's a loop basically that goes through each row, and as it does, depending on the button, it asks different questions. So lock in, right, changes. We're going to call cells where this is blank, we're going to call these blanks. That's what I mean when I refer to that. So we're going to changes blanks to values for combat. Reset. What reset does is it changes blanks to formulas for not combat, but we'll call it building. Finally, update. Update, what that does is that changes source values of blanks after combat. Oh, going off the edge there. And so now what I can do is I can build encounters based on the actual scores of the beings, the NPCs, the monsters, the extras that are in the NPC bank. And furthermore, after the combat, I can update those new scores to unique NPCs, avoiding duplicates, you know. So if we have, you know, if this was also a Hobgrungle, this would be Hobgrungle number 2. And we wouldn't want to change the base scores of these guys. But if they became an NPC, then that would be different. And so, yeah, basically we got all of that put together, and we still got about an hour. So the next thing I just need to do is make new character sheets based on these. Oh wait, no. There's something else I was doing. Here. Armor. Yeah, here. Oh my god. Any coffee left? So this was putting together, basically trying to aggregate all the different types of armor. What is going on here? Right. Yeah. That would be why. Okay. V2. Which anyway is not what we want. So what we want is all of these to be banded mail. Right? And so the way to do that is to index O we want basically 2 divided by, how do I, so I have this other system in metagame, which we can bring up now. Right. And what this does is it generates apples, then beer, then horses, etc. And I basically wanted to do the same thing. Yep. So what we're going to do is index and it's that. So we go down here. Yep. But actually this is the wrong way around. Or is it? No, no, we don't want that. See, we want it to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're just going to do the row, right? Yeah, the row divided by this, and that should make for us. Oh, instead of here we put the row A2 divided by that. And then we're going to round down. But we actually want it to be row 1. And then we do this. And then we a D2 element, and then we go down like that. Oh. Okay, so we got how many, and then y, so what we want here is 9, so it's 9 divided by AD10, which is 4. No. AE10, which is 2. Yeah. We wanted to round down to get 1. No. So, no. We want it to be minus, right? Minus. We want it to get 8, right? And then so right now it's 9 divided by AE10, which is, yeah, 2. And actually we want it to be 10 to 10. No. So what's the one that's changing every time in our other example? This one. Yeah. We just wanted to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Well, I mean, I don't really need to fucking do it every time. I can just manually do it. It's fine. So we're going to go all the way down. But what's missing is this one, I think. now going back up here, we have all the different types of that, and then we have all the different types of that. And then we're going to bring this down. Oh, but that's not what we do. We take this here. I don't know what this is for, so we're going to get rid of that. Okay, so now we can index this, right, and match this with this. So, and hide these now. Material item, armor class, and then the weight, right? The weight and the condition is what's going on? What's going on? The weight. Right? And the condition, which is going to be here. So yes. Can I just rearrange these ones? Yes, I can. Okay, and oh. So actually, we need another axis here, which is, right, because that's not actually the material, that's the type. The material is gonna be fucking something else. Yep. And so what we need to do is basically have a helper for the material. Right, we got 7 here. And so essentially what we need is instead just to index. We need to index so index this other helper here. No. Which is going to take that and divide it by G. And then we're gonna do that. Bring all of this down. Go back up here, bring all of this down. Aha. So this is the material. This is the type, and this one is the item. Okay. So why can't we just do this for yeah, no, I had that. Because that's not what we want. It's not what we want. Okay, but so actually the best thing to do here is not do this. But rather to select certain ones of these, Right, so down to like, what's brigandine? So that's still got metal. Chainmail. Okay, so down to, okay, so we got mail, leather. Okay, so let's move this. Remove the filter. Bring this down. And what we need to do instead is have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 56. Is it? Yeah, so we need 56 rows. So what we're going to do is just do that. Right, and we're going to go, what's this? 9. 9 plus 56. 65. Okay, we're going to go just down like this to 65. Right, and then here do that. Do that. Steel next. We do that. Then iron. Then silver. Then bronze. Finally copper. Okay, and then the next thing to do is to delete that, put this plus this. Okay, and then we're going to take that, put it there, delete that. So now we have our types. So here we should have we just take all this all the way down to Chinatown. So you're on silver now. It's on bronze, copper, chainmail is the bottom one. Come back up here, and now there we go. So now we've got all of our armor types. But why does it start with obsidian? That's what we want. Okay, one sec. Right. So now we have all of our armor types. Yeah, we need to find their weight, which is basically gonna be index this, match that with this, matching what with that? We're matching this with that. Studded leather, however, does not. Why is mail there? Oy, okay. It's not as glamorous. As other kinds of data management, but it gets the job done. Then I need to add this stuff to here because these are now materials. So studded leather, not in the fucking match evaluation. Should be. Ah, because then that goes down to 14. There we go. Okay, now we've got our weights. Or, sorry, our weight multipliers. Right, and now what we want to find out is the weight of something with a 1. Ugh. that should be the weight multipliers. And now the condition is just the same as the weight multiplier. So now we need these conditions. So I don't know. Let's just put 10 in for all of these for now. Actually, condition should be very low for cloth. Very low for cloth. Oh, no. Hide. Quilted. Padded leather. Come on. It's a lot. It's a lot. Condition. Okay. So now full cloth armor should not give the same amount of armor as no. So all I'm gonna do is AC. Because any piece of armor should be able to withstand one blow. The thing that differentiates a metallicum piece of armor from a cloth piece of armor is whether it's able to withstand a second, and a third, and a fourth. And that's the condition. which varies wildly. And the weight. So high condition and low weight is what you want, and it's a trade-off. So here you have low weight, very low. So yes. Alright, so does that imply then that every time somebody uses armor class, they have to roll condition for it? Yes. Okay, cool. Let's put this in then. So now we've got here now in our inventorium, right, with the armor, we can put in all of our armor. So tables, inventorium, fuck's sake. armor. So we got all of our armors here. Yeah. Items. 1. Right, so what have we got time? Not really. But I now need to figure out the weight, the armor class, and the dexterity effects for all of these, which is good. So basically what I need to do is just figure out what let's see, so maybe I can do this quickly. Base weight, and that's going to be for whoa, come on, that's going to be for the copper, obsidian, etc. So weight of helmet, 4 pounds. Okay. Curious. Ooh. Right, so 7. 8. A gauntlet then would be 2 degrees would be 3, boots would be 2. Let's maybe pump up iron to 1.2, bronze to 0.2, or so over here no, over here index that match that with that yes, but now we multiply it by multiplier. Take this, we put it into inventorium, and we also need the armor class. We also need now a dexterity modifier, but I'm not interested in that so much. What I want to see now is if we insert a graph, right? If we chart and if we aggregate, D, E, F, and H. Yeah, so we aggregate the F, or rather, I don't know. Basically, we've now got all of our different armor items in our database. Right, so now I'm going to put into Sir Salison's inventory basically yes, this. So then over here, what it looks like is, ugh. Okay. Select all. What the hell's going on here now? There we go, that. So, an inventory it should be appearing, but it's not. Oh, it is. Where's all this shit gone? The fifth one, for example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 340. I mean, yeah, it should be there. And it is. Good, 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 good. So now we've got basically all that shit. Here, now, the helmet. And the condition. Which means there's going to need to